the reason I ask is pretty plain to see, Professor Ravi. You can appreciate that. You've got an election campaign where Muslim quota is a big talking point. Jitni abadi utna haq has become a rallying cry as far as population are concerned. In that context, a report of this kind goes beyond just being a piece of research that's happened to drop at this point of time. And people who believe that the timing isn't random, it's not coincidental, that's a justifiable fear.
I'm sorry, I lost you in the middle, but are you asking me to justify the timing of the report?
No, I'm saying that critics will say at a time when Muslim quota and things like that, Jitni abadi utna haq, which has been a rallying cry by Rahul Gandhi and others, when that kind of thing, that kind of spotlight on the Muslim community has become a big flashpoint in the political conversation on the campaign trail, a report of this kind goes beyond just being a piece of research coincidentally dropping at this time. How would you defend that, ma'am?
Oh, but Shiv, I don't feel like, as a researcher, as a scholar, I really don't feel the need to justify the timing. Because like I told you, there will always be politics. And we are a democracy. Different parties are going to look at this result from very different angles. And they are going to use it. And that's perfectly fine. The point is, if we are able to accurately and objectively measure something, that at least forms an objective and a scientific basis to even have these discussions.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it is noise, right? It's anecdotal data of one politician versus another politician. So I think, scientific evidence, empirical evidence of this nature can only help sharpen and maybe improve the public conversation and the debates in this country.
You say that this report, Professor Ravi, is the first step, and there will be more. Can you explain what that means? How would such a report be used, by those that run the country? How useful is this information in terms of economic planning, etc.?
Well, this will have implications. And remember, we are a very big country here.
Yeah.
So what we are saying at an all-India level, I frankly think one will have to look at these kind of demographic shifts and changes at much more localized and narrower level. Because remember, policy making is not just at the national level. So we will have to, and of course, one thing to note, which we highlight in the study, which I'm hoping the media will pick up and people will talk about, is there are very few countries in the world that even define minorities.
Yeah.
So think about, that's the reason I maintain and that India is therefore a highly progressive liberal democracy. Plural democracy, and the results of this study are basically proving that point quite substantially.
Yes.
That not only do we define and we have policies, but all these cumulative policies and the environment in the community as a whole has led to an increase in the share of minorities in the country's population over time. Because this has only happened in liberal democracies. Now remember, autocracies like China do not even define minority populations, right? And China is not is an isolated case. Many countries do not define minorities, right? And at the end of the day, democracy is a number game. So obviously, collectively we vote, we make a decision and representation, political representation for what kind of policies we want.
Yeah.
So I think this, I'm hoping, will form a basis for a lot of the conversation, which have to do with religious demographics in this country. But I'm hoping to find out more. We should really have this information at more localized.
Professor Ravi, I want to come to, the Western media, the Western governments and how they've portrayed India in the recent past as my last question. But before that, also the Muslim world specifically, we've seen in the, preceding 2 or 3 years, there have been coordinated attacks on India with this narrative that India is anti-Muslim and it has oppressed its minorities. On the face of it, this report flies completely in the face of that narrative, doesn't it?
100%. And let me also, again, very clearly state, Shiv, because we looked at the literature, we looked at the publications, we have seen very few studies in the recent, let's say, last 2 decades that have actually empirically even measured these changes, right? So while this is not a study which is India-focused, it's a global study, but to most of the people in this country, anecdotally, perhaps they know these trends to be there. What we have done is objectively measured it using this RCS data. So 100%, I think it's not just the Western media, but many, even within India, many public debates around India being, not a hospitable place or not being progressive when it comes to minorities or in particular, let's say, Muslim community. That's actually not true at all. And this is just looking at the global data. Now, please remember, it's not just the Muslim groups. The Christian group has also expanded.
Yeah.
The Buddhist group has also expanded. And by expansion, I'm not saying absolute numbers. Absolute numbers is increasing for everyone. It's the relative share in there. Yeah. Right? So it's increasing for Buddhists, it's increasing for Sikhs. And that's why I maintain that what we have fundamentally known to be true, this report is just putting some numbers to what we objectively know to be true. So I'm hoping the Western scholars or people who are interested in Indian society and religious demographics of Indian society and how truly plural India is, I think this report they should read it and use it.
Because religious freedom in India, not restricted to that recent US report, has become something of a kind of a sticky headline for Western media, for want of a better phrase, as far as, when it comes to writing about India, especially during these elections. So my final question then, Professor Ravi, is on that the narrative of Western governments, and it isn't just the Western media, it's also the Western governments that have been trying to push this image of India as being oppressive to its minorities. This report is empirical, it's data. Does this empower India to battle that narrative in a bigger way now?
Oh, 100%. I mean, this is, we are a liberal, plural democracy. And the reason we are a shining sort of example is also the context within which we live, which is, this part of Asia, which is where this is not common at all. Like I mentioned, minorities are actually falling alarmingly in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it's a testimony to our laws. It's a testimony to how truly secular and plural and liberal India's, social fabric is. So I have no doubt at all. But so in many ways, I was not surprised by the findings of the report. I'm guessing most people who watch demographic data will not be surprised. It might be a surprise to Western researchers, scholars, media personnel, governments, who, for reasons I think it's coming from either ignorance or whatever the intentions be.
Yeah.
But now here we have something objective to sort of challenge those fake narratives.
Professor Shamika Ravi, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking my questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Shiv. Take care.